Hello everyone. In today's video, we'll continue with the fifth part of the architectural course, where we'll focus on dimensions and annotations to make the documentation more readable and understandable. First of all, we'll place dimensions on the floor plan, starting with the ground floor. There are various options for dimensions, which we can find under the annotate command. Before placing any dimensions, we need to set their properties. This can be done either in the Properties section or, if you right-click on a specific dimension command, you can find the Properties menu where you can adjust the settings. The first set of properties are general dimension properties, like the layer it should be on, line thickness, and color. Next are the text parameters, specifying the font and size of the text, along with other settings. The third set of properties are for dimension text, determining where the dimension value should be placed on the dimension line. After that, we can configure arrowhead settings, then format and additional parameters. Lastly, we can work with the dimension line itself. I won't be modifying this now and will accept it with OK. The first dimensions I want to place are the overall wall dimensions of the building. This can be done most easily by using the annotate, building, all walls command. Before placing them, we can set what information we want to see on these dimension lines, under wall dimensioning styles. Here, there are already two predefined wall dimension styles, but by clicking the Add button, we can save our own style. I'll click on Add, and the internal walls version 1 will be created. I'll rename this to All Walls, then click on Edit. Here, we can edit the data we want to see on these dimension lines. This small diagram will help us. Clicking on a specific dimensioning option will show how it will appear. First, I'll add the interior walls with opening axis distances, followed by interior wall dimensions. Next, I'll add the exterior walls corner points, and then the overall dimensions of the exterior walls. For the detailed dimension settings of doors and windows, we can configure how their dimensions should be displayed. Since we don't usually dimension openings on exterior dimension lines, we only show the width. This would only be visible if I had added the option interior walls with opening width. But I've chosen the axis here. Once these settings are configured, I'll accept with OK and activate this wall dimension setting that I saved. I select the one I created in the current list, and accept with OK. I'll choose the Annotate, All Walls command, and the program will place the wall dimensions using the specified style. So, I select the All Walls command, outline the entire floor plan with a rectangle, then accept with Enter. In the next click, I'll specify where the program should place the innermost dimension line. With a single click, the building's dimensions are now ready. Let's move to the first level, and do the same. Again, I'll choose Annotate, Building, All Walls command. Since the style we created is already selected, I can proceed with placing the dimensions. I select the floor plan, accept with Enter, then in the next click, I'll specify where I want to place these dimension lines. Done. Next, I'll dimension the openings. For this, I'll use the Annotate, Building, Window, Door command. But before we start dimensioning, let's check the default settings for windows and doors. For dimensioning, under the Building menu, we'll use Properties, Window, Door. So, I select the door, and under the Dimension, Consignment option, I'll check the selected dimensioning settings. I want to see the width and height on the same dimension line for the door. For the door, I don't need the sill height. I accept with OK. I'll set the same for the window. Under Properties, Window, I choose the Dimension, Consignment option. Here, I select width and height. I need the sill height. Here, I can set how the sill height should be indicated. Currently, it's marked with SH and the floor level is marked as 0. This is fine. I accept with OK. Let's place the dimension lines. So, with the Annotate, Building, Window, Door command, I'll dimension all the openings. I select All, and the program will dimension all windows on this level. Then I'll do the same for the doors. By the way, we can position these dimensions differently. For example, for doors, if we want them to be on the outside, we can do this in two ways. The first is by selecting the other side of the door using the Building Door Selection command. This way, we can alternate between sides depending on where we click. Another option is to click on the value itself, and choose the small arrow icon, or select the Move Text Along Dimension Line command. This way, you can move these dimensions if they overlap, or cover other important symbols on the floor plan. You can also perform this for windows. Select the window selection command, and depending on which side of the window you click, the program will place the dimension values accordingly. Now let's go to the ground floor and dimension the openings there as well. I'll use the Building, Window, All command to dimension the openings. Alternatively, you can manually dimension using the Annotate, Length command. So, I select the Length command, and for example, I'll dimension the length of this building facade. Another useful tool is the horizontal and vertical series dimensioning. I select the serial horizontal dimensioning, and start with the first point, then the second point. After placing the dimension line where I want it, I only need to click on the points I want to dimension. In relation to each other, it will position these dimension lines in a straight line. The same applies for serial and vertical dimensioning option. I'll place a few dimensions here. 1 click, 2 clicks, place the dimension line, and then I can simply click on the elements I want to dimension. This way, I can easily dimension partitions that aren't directly related to the main wall. The dimensions are linked to the dimensioned element, so if you make any changes, the dimension line will also change accordingly. Let's take a look at an example with this window. I'll select the window and change its dimension from 1000 mm to 1100 mm. It's updated, and you can see that the dimension line has adjusted, including the top dimension line, as the window axis has changed. I'll undo it. So, the dimension line changes when I modify the element it's linked to. Next, I'd like to demonstrate how to create room tags. We'll do this using the Building, Room and Area command. There are several options for creating room tags. Automatic room creation places room tags automatically in all rooms. You can also choose to create room tags using Room by Walls or by using the Room by Polygon commands. We'll look at all three methods. First, let's set the properties for the room tag. In the General Properties, you can set the text style, size, and font. I'll choose Arial 200. You can also adjust settings like draw frame, line spacing, and more, such as the layer, color, and line thickness. But let's move on to the upper limit. Here, you can set the calculated room height. I won't change it for now. Let's explore the Calculated Values menu. Here, you can choose what the tag should display. I'll change room name to room, but each room will have a different name. You can also show the gross area or the floor finish. I'll turn that off. There are more options here, but I won't modify these now. I'll save this room tag as a style. I'll do this by clicking on the name. Then, I click on New and name it Room Area. I'll set it to be available for all projects. Now it's created. I'll activate it and accept with OK. When I create room tags, I'll see the data we configured here. First, I'll choose the automatic placement. You can see that the program has created the room tags and shows us how many it created, 5 in this case. I can modify these, and if I need to move them, I can use the Move marker. If they're in the wrong place, I'll move all of them. You can also rename them. If I click on a room tag, I can overwrite the name using the dark blue marker. This one will be the kitchen. This is a work room. A toilet. This is a small storage. And this one will be the living and dining room. However, since this larger room has dual functions, I'd like to divide it using the room separation line. To do this, I'll choose the room separation line command, and draw a horizontal line to separate the room. I'll draw it from wall to wall. I can hold down Shift to ensure a straight line. I'll click and then accept with Enter. The program has created 2 separate room tags. This is the first part of the room, and this is the second. I'll rename them. This will be the dining area, and this is the living room. This is how we can easily separate a space that serves 2 functions using a room separation line. You can also modify this line, or even change it to a dashed line if needed. Let's go to the first level and create room tags there as well. I'll use the room by walls. I'll choose this command, then click inside the rooms where I want to place the tags. This is how I can create room tags. I'll rename them as well. This will be a bathroom. I'll move this one a bit. This is room 1, and this is room 2. This is a corridor. And this is a common area. I forgot to tag the last one, so I choose room and area again and create the room tag with the room by walls command. This will be a storage. What we haven't tagged yet is the balcony, since it doesn't have boundary walls. So, I'll choose the room by polygon command. I'll draw it along the contour of the floor slab. Then I'll accept with enter. I set the room height to 2700 mm, and the program automatically places the room tags. I'll rename it to balcony. With these room tags, we are done. Next, I'll show you the color schemes that helps categorize the building's rooms by size, such as half room, full room, etc. By clicking on Building, Room and Area, Color Schemes, you'll find that a default color scheme is already set up. It will use green, blue, and pink to indicate values. Green for rooms smaller than 6 square meters, blue for those smaller than 12 square meters, and pink for rooms larger than 12 square meters. You can modify this scheme as well. I'll accept with OK, and the program will calculate these values and generate the color scheme automatically. If you no longer want to see this color scheme or need it, you can turn it off by selecting None under the Properties, Color Schemes. You can also see this on the ground floor. When nothing is selected on the floor plan, I enable the gross area-based room color scheme, and the program will automatically generate the color scheme. You can see it's active. To deactivate it, choose None again. Let's place symbols on the floor plan. I'll start with the elevation sign. By clicking on Annotate, Elevation on Floor Plan, I need to specify an element, whose bottom or top I want to dimension. Let's choose this wall and pick the node where I want to dimension. For instance, I'll select this corner, and indicate that I want to dimension from the bottom, which is at 0 value. Here, I can choose the symbol the program should use for the elevation. Clicking on 2D representation allows us to select a different symbol. I'll choose Elevation 1 and accept with OK. I'll place it near the entrance. These 2D symbols are actually created as groups, meaning you can enter the group and edit them if necessary. Right-clicking and selecting Enter Group allows us to make changes. We can see that in such cases, we cannot edit anything else, we can only work within the group we entered. Exiting can be done by clicking on an element within the group and selecting Close Group from the local menu. Let's take a look at further 2D symbols. In the Design Center, in the Building section, the last option is Groups. You can find more 2D symbols here, under the Signs menu. I'll place an arrow at the entrance. I'll use arrow 01. There are 2 ways to modify its size. I'll click on the icon and use the local menu to scale it larger or smaller. Alternatively, you can adjust the width and height values in the properties. Next, I'll place the North symbol. I go back to the Design Center and select the North English folder. I'll choose the North 13 sign and place it. Since we set the north direction, when I place this north symbol, it will adopt the set direction. You can also modify this symbol. By clicking on it, I can either scale it or change its dimensions by typing values. Let it be 1500 millimeters. Now, I'll add labels and text. Using the drafting tool, Text command, I'll click to place text. I'll write ground floor in the dialog. Repeated text placement is enabled, which means that if I place this text, the dialog will pop up again, allowing me to place more text. What's important is that you can modify text properties, height, font, etc., before and after placement. Right-clicking the properties before placement and selecting the text afterward will allow you to modify it. I'll change the text height, which can also be done from the side menu, or by clicking the small text editing marker, when the text is selected. I'll change it to 400 millimeters. I will move it a bit, and we're done. The next text I'll place is a text with pointer. I'll use the text with pointer command. I'll write reinforced concrete column, as we'll place this text next to the columns. I'll accept with OK. Then select the element I want to label. I'll place the text and indicate the arrow's position. You can also copy these. I'll select the text for the concrete column. Use Ctrl+C to copy it. I'll give it a reference point for copying, a grip point to hold during copying. Then I'll use Ctrl+V to paste it. I'll also place this callout text for the other two reinforced concrete columns. This completes the floor plan labeling and dimensioning. The next step is dimensioning the western elevation. I'll move to the western elevation and place horizontal and vertical series dimensions. I'll start by dimensioning the elevation breaks. I'll zoom in here and continue. Afterward, I'll add a length dimension. I'll also dimension the positions of the openings. With this, we're done. I missed one dimension, but I can easily insert it by clicking on the existing length dimension. From the local menu, I'll choose Dimension String, Insert Dimension, allowing me to add another dimension. Instead of vertical series dimensioning, I will now demonstrate the height dimensioning. Here, we find the elevation on section command. We need to select the point where we will find the 0 height, then place the dimension line there or click where we want to place the dimension. Let's say here. Then, all we need to do is click on the heights. These are window heights, eyebrow heights, window bottom heights, and window top heights. The bottom of the gutter, one of the roof breakpoints, and the top of the main roof. And that's it. Let's place text here as well. This will be west elevation. I accept and place it. I change it to 400 millimeters. I will label the elevation with numbers, so that we can create material designations. So, we will find this again in the Design Center, under Groups. I will select the square symbols. I'll pick the number 1 and place it on the roof. Then pick 2 and place it on the white facade. The number 3 goes to the glass balcony. 4 to the reinforced concrete column. And let's say 5 here for the windows, and so on. This way, we will be able to easily create material designations for this elevation. Let's continue with further dimensioning and text placement in section BP. I will start with horizontal series dimensioning to size and position the partition walls. I will also provide their thickness. These dimension lines can also be moved if they are not in the correct position. I click on one of the dimension lines, and select Move Dimension command. This way, all dimension lines will move together, as they are part of a series dimensioning. With this, we are done. Let's continue with vertical series dimensioning, where I will indicate the layers of the floor slabs, and mark the ceiling heights. Then, let's create height dimensions here as well. I set the reference point to 0, place the dimension, and provide the bottom and top of the floor slabs, as well as the height of the firewall. These can also be moved. If I click on the value and select the arrow, I can use the Move Text Along Dimension Line command to relocate this value. We also have the option, for instance, when dimensioning the bottom and top of a floor slab, to transfer this value to the bottom of the dimension line. I can do this by clicking on the value, then selecting the pencil, and in the Dimension Text Properties, choosing the Below option instead of the Upper option. There's also an option to flip the arrow, so if I choose the lower arrow instead of the upper one. Here, we also place a text. Section BB. Then I accept with OK and place it. I will also modify its text height. I click and change it to 400 mm. I would like to indicate the layer order as well, so I will number them. Similarly, in the groups, we will find circle symbols. And here are these dashed symbols. I will use these to indicate the layer order of main walls or partition walls. Let the roof be 1. The closing slab 2. The intermediate 3. And the lower slab 4. With these labels, we're done. I'll also show how to depict the slope of ramps. I go back to the ground floor and will draw an arrow using the Drafting Line tool. I will select the normal 0.18 plus arrowhead style from the side menu, then give the first point with the first click, and the end point with the second click, and the arrow is created. We will also show the elevation, upper elevation, and the inclination. We can create this with the Documentation Tags command. By clicking on Create Tags, we can create custom ones. If I select the ramp, we can see the kind of data that will appear on the label. I will only select the elevation and the inclination. So, I will turn off the visibility of all the other data. As I mentioned, I will also indicate the upper elevation. From this list, I will transfer it with the arrow into this list. I will also change the order of the data. If we don't fill in the prefix and suffix, the program will only show the values. So, I will fill these out so that it reads ELEV, and then it will display the value. Upper level L. And inclination. I click on the Apply button, then accept with OK. With the tags, Place Tags command, I can place them. As you can see, it brings up the same dialog again. Here, we can check if we've set everything correctly. If not, we can modify it. I accept with OK. I can set the style of cells, dimensioning style, and font size. This will be fine for now. I accept with OK, and I need to select the element I want to label. This will be the ramp now. The tag is completed, with a line connecting the tag and the element. By the way, you can also delete it. The label will still maintain its connection with the ramp. So, if I modify anything, the label will also update. If I click on the label and choose Update Tag from the local menu, it will refresh. Let's also take a look at the schedules. This works on a similar principle to tags. With the Create Schedule command, we can create custom ones. But I won't do that now, I'll directly place a schedule. This one will be for doors. First, we can see what properties will be shown, and then if we accept with OK, we can further format it, but I'll accept this for now. I'll place it next to the floor plan, and the program will show how many doors there are on which level and at what size they are placed. Then we'll place another schedule for windows. So, I choose to place it, and select Windows. Here, we will also see various data. I won't modify this either, I'll place the finished one. Here, we can see how many there are, what size they are, their names, and a small image. Also, the level on which they are placed. If I click on the magnifying glass icon in the door schedule, the program will show which door it's referring to on the floor plan. By the way, if we make any changes on the floor plan, the schedule can also update. It's continuously linked to our model. For example, let's modify the entrance door from 1500 mm to 1300 mm. I'll choose Update Schedule to see how the program adjusts the value. I'll undo that change. Now that we're talking about reports, let's look at the quantity takeoff Excel list command. We can create Excel lists for various architectural and interior design elements. I'll focus on building calculations and different architectural elements. I accept, and we can save it in XLS format on our computer, then open it in Excel if it's installed. Here, we have various listings that we can modify or edit. By the way, the program can also list BIM parameters. So, for example, if I select this door here, we'll find the BIM parameters here, which we can edit, modify, and list. The last topic we'll look at is managing phases. If we want to display demolished or new walls in our project, that's also possible. We can do this by going to the Edit menu, then Phases, and switching our elements to existing, demolished, or new. This can be done for openings, walls, and 2D symbols as well. Now I'll switch this wall to demolished. So, I select the change to demolished state, then I select the wall and maybe these associated dimension lines, and this dimension line as well, then I accept with Enter. To see this change, we need to use the phase filters. We'll find the phase filters here. Right now, we're on the All Phases filter, so we can see the existing, new, and demolished elements. On the existing phase, we'll see the existing elements. In the next, demolition phase, we'll see the wall and elements I marked as demolished earlier in red. In the following phase, after the existing plan after demolition, the demolished wall won't appear on our floor plan anymore. And finally, the new construction phase, where we can create new walls and elements. I'll switch back to the existing phase. And that's it, we're done with today's workshop. I hope this was useful for you. We'll see you in the next presentation, where we'll cover preparing plan sheets, and how to copy the finished plans onto these sheets. Until then, have a great day. Goodbye.